Hello, and thank you for joining us on the Stay Healthy Knoxville podcast, brought to you by Simply Physio, aimed at helping you live an enjoyable, fit, and healthy life in and around our community of Knoxville, Tennessee. And now, here is your host, Dr. John Mark Chesney. Welcome to the Stay Healthy Knoxville podcast. I am not John Mark. I am Chris Hill. I'm actually John Mark's producer on the Stay Healthy Knoxville podcast. And today I have the pleasure of introducing John Mark, who specializes in back pain, neck pain, and headaches. He's a doctor of physical therapy, orthopedic certified specialist, and certified dry needing specialist. He's also the owner and founder of Simply Physio. He grew up here in Knoxville, Tennessee. He's a graduate of Clemson University, and he received his physical therapy degree from the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga. He completed a residency focused on orthopedics and manual therapy and has treated thousands of people suffering from neck pain, back pain, and headaches over the years. He has completed extensive training on the most effective, research-supported, hands-on treatments and healing movements that can give relief fast to the people who suffer from low back pain, neck pain, and headaches. John Mark, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Chris. So, Chris has been with us in the Stay Healthy Knoxville every step along the way. You guys may have, listeners have heard his voice as some of the mid part and the beginning part, the intro and the outro. So we're doing something a little bit different today. We've been recording podcasts, for a little over a year, Chris?
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, over a year now.
It's a little, crazy. This will be, I believe, episode 16 or 17. I'm losing counts. But but yeah, so we thought we'd do something a little different. So Chris is going to be interviewing me as far as talking about first back pain.
Yeah, so with back pain, this is something I'm excited to talk about, if you can be excited about pain, because it's something that I struggle with even to this day. I've been to chiropractors over the years to try and get it fixed. I've tried to do all the adjustments. I've even gotten injections and like the Bursa Sacs, and I've had a lot of pain over the years. Most recently, it's actually funny, we're recording today. I, as you can imagine, doing podcast work, have to do audio editing and have to spend a lot of time in front of my computer. Don't always have the ability to stand the way I would like to. And so I end up in a situation a lot of times where I have to, sit for extended periods of time, and that aggravates my lower back. And so as we're talking today, I actually went out and got a new office chair, from a professional office supply company in town, because I'm just so tired of, having to have the back pain that I do. And I know that when I've worked in other office environments, I've not had the same back pain because they've got better chairs than what I have at home. And so, I'm trying to take steps to take care of myself. I'm trying to stay active. And I know when I work out more, it helps. But, back pain is something I struggle with today. So really, really curious to know, what am I doing wrong?
Sure.
What could I do better? And what are some, common myths and misconceptions, that people have about back pain, and how can you help them with that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, you're not alone.
That's good to know.
Back pain. We hear, versions of your story, daily, as far as, somebody that reaches out to us, hears about us, and, they list kind of a laundry list of hey, I've tried this. I've tried some massage therapy. I've tried chiropractic care. Maybe they've had a consult with a doctor, a back pain, specialist, and maybe they've gotten some relief along the way here and there, but it seems to just keep coming back, and that happens all the time. And, we love, hearing, everybody's story is a little bit different, as far as their experience. But there's common frustrations that we find as far as, back pain that just continues to limit, what somebody can do, ultimately limiting who, they're created to be. When your back's going out on you, when it's, you're dealing with a muscle spasm, when you can't sit, like you said, you're having, trouble sitting, maybe it's somebody else's, they have trouble holding, a grandchild, or,
right.
They're worrying about, going on vacation and traveling in the car, whatever it is. It can really mess with somebody and really make somebody have to be a version of themselves that they really don't have to be. So you mentioned as far as certain myths, right, that people hear, or misconceptions about somebody's back. I'd love to hear, Chris, kind of how you view your spine Or maybe what have you been told about your back from well-intended, I'm sure, health professionals or maybe friends or family members? I'd love to hear what you've heard.
So take that a couple different directions. From the doctor, from the chiropractor, they actually have me do x-rays and things like that. So I've actually seen where my back is, misaligned and things like that in the past. And they've said, well, we need to do, adjustments on you, and you need to come in and get these shots and all this stuff to help align your back in alignment. It was so funny to me because right before I got another knee injury, which is not the focus of this. Maybe that's another series we'll do later.
Sure.
We could just do How is Chris Falling Apart and have that as a series at some point. But basically, with me, I had this serious back pain, and they were fixing me right before my trip back in May. I was flying out to Colorado, and they had adjusted me and still had serious pain. I thought I was close to being done on adjustments, and lo and behold, I got some serious back pain that laid me out for some of that trip. But with that, the thing I've been told is, just do the adjustments, do exercise. The one thing I will say, the chiropractor did tell me to do was to exercise and to try, and they required us to stay and actually do fitness exercises while we were there. So I appreciated that. But with that too, there's also, you mentioned family. So my wife is a big proponent of going to a chiropractor because she's been a teacher for years, and getting adjustments help her stay feeling good. And so, she has always said, well, you still need to go to the chiropractor, even if you do go to therapy and learn how to better take care of it. Cause that adjustment helps too. So those are the things that I've heard most often. I've had people try to pull my back and things like that. Not in recent times since I've been seeing doctors and stuff, but people drop, hold me on their back and crack on my back and stuff. I'm sure that probably contributed in some way to this mess too.
I have some great friends that are chiropractors. I really respect, their field and what they do, and they help a ton of people. That's why they're around, and chiropractors, even from one office to the next, can function very differently. Mm-hmm. And so if somebody's in the same way in PT too, and, we've had a lot of our clients have tried chiropractic care or tried even physical therapy. And just because they have doesn't mean that that all chiropractic care is has failed them, or there's not an option out. Or the same thing in PT, that just because somebody's tried PT doesn't mean that that PT isn't the solution. Mm-hmm. So what I find, when I hear a story like yours of, you probably get some relief from adjustments, right?
Right. Yeah.
And most people do. And there's a lot of research that shows relief with adjustments. Same thing with massage. People will get massage, and who doesn't feel better after getting a massage? Right. But the story that we hear is it lasts maybe a day or two, and then it's pretty much back to where it was before. And then I can go in and get another massage. It feels good, for 24, 48 hours, or maybe the adjustment does the same thing. And if it's coming back real quick, it tells me that there's something missing. And, where, talking about the myths that people believe, one of the, key myths is where treatment is focused in on only the painful area. And, a chiropractor will use an x-ray for kind of their diagnostic. And, what I find and what I use instead of an x-ray is movement. Watching somebody move is my x-ray. Because that's how life happens. Somebody needs to be able to get in and out of the car. They need to be able to load the dishwasher. They need to be able to get, bend over the crib and pick up a grandchild or a child to, go to an exercise class. They need to put it all together in movement. And so we use movement as our x-ray. And what that helps us find is the areas that aren't moving well. And that's really what I find is the missing link with many cases is, with somebody's back pain, they think, I'm sure doing, what I could do, doing soft tissue work, joint work, adjustment work on their back, it'll probably help too. But again, if they have I find oftentimes even the big toe, they can have some stiffness in the big toe. They don't even realize. And so it changes the way they walk, changes the way they move, and create compensations put the strain on the back. And so now the back keeps going out, keeps getting this tightness, this tension because of something maybe even down in the foot. But we don't know that until, what I tell people is we got to zoom out first before we zoom in and just assume this is all the back. Most of the time, especially if it's been going on for more than a few weeks, there's usually something else that's missing that has to be found. And if it's not, then what's, the story that I hear is like it helps for a bit, but then it comes back, it returns. It keeps, keep having these episodes. Yeah. Because there's something there that hasn't been discovered, hasn't been linked, hasn't been pieced together. Another myth or misconception is, what we find on diagnostic tests is there's been a lot of research looking at like an MRI, and basically the older you get, the more you're going to find stuff. It's kind of like I can see on the outside you're getting older, right? Whether it be some wrinkles or some gray hair. Just because there's some wrinkles or gray hair doesn't mean that something's wrong. In the same way as when we look at an MRI or X-ray, like there's going to be signs that's, on the inside there's some age. But again, that doesn't mean that there's something that's wrong either. And it can, what I find too is when somebody's been labeled with maybe a herniated disc or degenerative disc disease or arthritis, that the labeling that goes into effect. And again, it's not intentional, but it happens. It's only just second nature. Is like then somebody starts viewing their spine as this weakened state, this weakened vessel, and you go to bend and you feel a pressure, and all of a sudden you're just imagining this disc about to slip out. Right. Yeah. And you can imagine if that's like the image going on in your brain, that then it's going to produce this response that's even greater as far as this protective response of the muscles clenching down because of how tightly woven we are connected and how it all pieces together. That the system that God really made us is just it's just amazing. But images or labeling can actually affect a physical symptom of pain and muscle spasm, muscle guarding because of this sense of there needing to be some protection. Those are, again, common myths and oftentimes misconceptions that people hear from even the medical professionals. And again, they're well-to-do and they're with good intentions, but a lot of people don't recognize the harmful effects that can happen. Once, so often people, they get an MRI and then they get labeled with this, and they're frankly just one step closer to surgery once they've been labeled as damaged. And some people that can be hard to overcome. And the beginning part of, working with them is helping them see is like, no, your spine is strong. Like it's made, like if you really understand, like it's not this weebly wobbly thing that's about to slip out every, second if you move the wrong way. It's really a strong thing. We just have to tap into that strength and help you to, recognize it and feel the strength that it's really made to be. Arthritis is another misconception. Most of my clients have some degree of arthritis. And, the conception is just because I have arthritis, I can't change the arthritis. But even though I can't change it, like people get better. It's because that's not the limiting factor. There's so much that can be done to improve the movement, to take away strain from a joint so that, some arthritis around a joint may still be there, but it doesn't present itself as pain. It doesn't come out where it restricts them when we're able to improve the movement around that joint. So, another misconception we hear is just, I need some more time. I just need to wait a little bit longer. And you start talking with people, it's like, well, how long have you waited? How long has this been going on for? It's unlikely, if after somebody's had a pain for, 3 or 4 weeks, if it's not gotten better by then, it's unlikely that time by itself will be the magic piece to create healing. Usually there's some other barrier that needs to be unlocked and to be removed to allow the body to do what it's designed to do as far as getting back to healing. I really encourage people to explore different options. I've had clients that, I've been working with, and I'm like, man, I really think that you need to, work with this chiropractor even for a bit, because they have a skill set, and I'm seeing that you need, something that's different than what I provide. And matching somebody's pain and their injury with the right provider can be a world of difference. And I treat a number of chiropractors. I'm thinking off the top of my head. The past year, I've treated 3 different chiropractors, treated a chiropractor's wife and another chiropractor's son. And these are amazing chiropractors, and they do amazing work. But they also recognize that, sometimes their skill set doesn't quite match with somebody else's needs. And so, I love being connected with a community where, we realize that we can't be a savior for everybody. But even if somebody has had failed treatment before, that, the way I look at it is they're one step closer to finding the right solution by continuing to kind of get up and work and explore other options. So I love to tell just a story of a client that I think many people will identify with, and just the journey they went on. And this client, her name's Charity. She has 3 kids. She struggled with back pain for 5 years when she reached out to me. Her pain would flare up from time to time. It was always coupled with muscle spasms, and oftentimes would leave her in bed for days. And it would make it difficult for her to walk, sometimes even use the restroom, be with her family. When the muscle spasm would hit, it would just completely wreck, that family time. The spasms would oftentimes last for days, and even the residual pain could last for months. This created just an environment where she wasn't free to go hiking. She wasn't free to go play golf. She was limited with being able to do yard work, to do even just her regular work, to be with her kids, her children, and just to interact. And she had just this overriding fear that, that if she did try, that's going to hurt her back. And so she was very protective when she found me, and she was also just avoiding many movements out of just that fear of the back pain, because when it would hit, it would just be, really incapacitating. She had tried chiropractic care. She'd even seen a specialist for the spine, and they all really told her the same thing: avoid major movements, take these pain medications, come back and see us in a few weeks for some more treatment. And the treatment oftentimes would involve some adjustments, a hot pack, some electrical stimulation. It would feel good, but then a few days later it would really wear off. And she wasn't really getting the diagnosis that got to the root of the problem. And so her symptoms never really were put at rest. She came in to visit with me for our initial discovery visits. During this time, I really identified some pieces that were missing. And one with her in particular was her foot and her knee, that she has some wonky stuff going on down there. And so, I pointed this out to Charity and was saying, like, hey, listen, we gotta work on some of these other things. And by putting the pieces together, I'm confident that we can help to solve this mystery of back pain that you've been suffering with, for over 5 years. So she scheduled her evaluation, and within, just a few minutes, we were able to start putting some of the pieces together. And, she told me later that immediately she felt like she was getting what she needed, and, and that it justified even the cost of what she was, paying for. Just where I'm able to work individually with each client and seeing people not just stacked right on top of each other. It just changes the game in how we can deliver care. So she continued to work. We worked on her arches, worked on her knee, her flexibility, her hamstrings, started really putting pieces together. And then we proceeded on with treatment. She got to a point where she was really doing better, and I really had to encourage Charity. I was like, hey, listen, you're doing great, but we can't let you go until you really test yourself. Like, you got to put it to the test. And so I challenged her to go do something over the weekend that she would typically be hesitant to do, because we have to make sure that she can do these things before I'm confident that she's ready, to get the green light to continue on her own. And so for her, she went and took her kids out bowling. And she was a little nervous because last time that she went, she really had trouble with bowling. But she came back after that weekend, and she told me it was one of the best days as being a mother to do a physical activity with her children without fear of injury. And that's what I like. That's what I do. That's why I love working with people, is to hear those stories of, creating an opportunity for somebody to go and experience a day and to have it be the best ever, because they're not having to suffer from the fear or the back pain that they've been dealing with. That's a lot of people's journey is, similar. I'm sure, Chris, that you could probably find yourself a little bit in that story as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I wanted to give some people some helpful advice, even from here, some tips that I find can help to start to get people some relief. So we're going to go into some of really the 5 best tips for the back pain. How's that sound, Chris?
Sounds great. Let's do it.
So the first one I encourage everybody to first think about is like what's going on with your posture. Like you mentioned, sitting.
Yes.
You got your pain is more affected sitting.
Yeah, for sure. Especially long periods of time. Right.
Now, everybody's, that's a lot of people notice bending, lifting, sitting pain, like their back is aggravated. Mm-hmm. Now, there are some that this opposite, like more standing, walking. But if you fit in the category where you have more pain sitting, is, the first thing I encourage you to try is you got to work some the opposite direction. So working some backwards bending.
Okay, backwards bending.
Yes. So a cobra would be like if you're looking on YouTube, is an exercise you're down on your stomach and pressing up with your hands, or just standing and bending backwards. It's a movement that most people don't get much of unless they're intentionally doing it. And the more that you're bending forward, the more that you're sitting, the more you need to work the opposite direction.
Would that work well with like a balance ball or something like that as well? Would that be helpful, or would that just be another hazard to throw into the mix?
Right. I would hold off on the balance ball.
Okay.
Starting off, let's keep it simple.
Okay.
And if oftentimes it can be a little stiff, a little sore, but it should loosen up pretty quick. Again, I don't know your injury. I don't know your pain. If you were trying some backwards bending and it was just getting worse, then it's not something to keep doing. Put it at rest and work on some of these other tips I'm going to give you next. So the next one is what I tell people is motion is lotion, movement is medicine. So we have to explore different movements. And what I find oftentimes is with the hips is hips get really tight. So we got to stretch the hips. So next place to look is what's going on with your hips. The third thing is, so you spend pretty much all your life in one of 2 conditions or places. So the first one, what would you think it would be?
Probably at rest.
At rest. How do you rest most of the time?
Laying down.
And on a mattress.
On a mattress, yeah.
So invest in a good mattress.
We've done that.
The second one, if you're not in bed, you're going to typically be on your feet in a pair of shoes, right? So the second one is thinking about your foundations, is invest in a mattress, also invest in a good pair of shoes.
Or a mattress for your feet.
That's right. That's right. That's really tip 3 and 4. The 5th tip is if you're finding some relief with these, but your pain is a little bit more complicated, you likely need to see a movement specialist. So, somebody like myself who looks at movement to help to put the pieces together. So back pain can be complicated. And when it is, you need to have a level of intervention that is on a level with the complicated nature of your condition. And again, if it's been going on for, more than a few weeks, a few months, a few years, like it's telling me it's at a level that it's just more complicated.
Yeah.
And, you're more than welcome to kind of just take the shotgun approach and, hey, I see all this exercise, so I'm going to give it a shot. You may find some relief, here and there. but chances are you won't be able to put all the pieces together to figure out what that missing link is. And what I find is, the way to do that is you got to look at the full movement system. The first step is looking at a full head to toe movement examination. So again, we don't just look at the back, how the back moves. We do look at that, but you have to look at how the whole body moves to figure out what's moving wrong, what needs our attention. And from there, you can start to put together a game plan of addressing those movement barriers.
Okay.
A huge piece is educating and empowering the client, the individual, on what they can do. Because when they know what to do, and I tell my clients that, hey, you shouldn't have to make any decisions here. Like, I want to make this as simple as possible. It's partly the name is Simply Physio. Is let me do the hard work of figuring out what needs to happen, what I need to do, and then show you what you need to do. And then you just have to execute. You just have to follow some directions, right?
Okay.
And so, the goal is to really educate, empower somebody so they know what to do. The second step is correcting the mobility issues, the tight points, the stiff points, things that are restricted. We got to get them loosened up with some hands-on intervention, so that you have the capacity to move. Once you can move freely, typically pain relief is mostly resolved once the mobility is corrected. But that's not where most people want to stop, because if you stop there and you don't have a framework of strength and support to support that movement, then you're just kind of one movement, one position, one kind of bad situation away of that just coming back. So the third level is getting the right activation, the muscle support, retraining how the body moves with the right strength and support. The fourth level is you gotta tailor it to that individual. So for Chris, what are the things of activities that you like to do?
Well, as I alluded to earlier, I also had a knee injury. So the activities I want to do include, riding my bike, going hiking. I try to get out to the gym and love to swim.
Sure.
So those are kind of my big ones.
Right. So, what we would find, like, our goals would be exactly what you just said. Like, hey, what's going to bring you value, bring you purpose, and to really give you the opportunity to be able to ride a bike, to be able to go back in swimming, to be able to go for a hike. Like, that's why you come in to see me, so you can do those things. Like, people will live with a degree of pain. And ultimately, I don't do pain relief. I can if somebody wants. Yeah. But really what most people want is, like, I want to be at a level that I can do these things. I can go ride a bike. I can throw a football. I can go on a trip and be able to go on that hike, that excursion, right? Yeah. So we have to make sure that you have the movement pattern and the flexibility, the strength and the support to be able to do those tasks. Once you can do those tasks, we know that that you're good. And then from there, the last step is things happen, is so that I want people to leave with a plan to know what to do if things ever return, and to know their weak links. Everybody has, some spot that just tends to, like, if you take your eye off of it, it's gonna come back. And so the first step is knowing what that spot is, and then once you know that spot, then you can have an understanding of maybe 2 or 3 exercises that really benefit you just to regularly do. Yeah. And when you do, you can help keep things at bay. So yeah, if going through the steps, if Chris, if you, or if somebody else listened to this, if what I'm describing, if it's something that they really haven't experienced, or they're they've been disappointed before, what I encourage them is, whether it be me or whether it be another provider, is to not give up. We recognize that most people have been disappointed and have and are just on the fence. And so with anybody who was interested but wanted to just kind of take a baby step forward, the next step with working with us is to reach out to us, and we have what we call a discovery visit. It's an opportunity for somebody to come in to meet with us, for us to take a look at things, for us to go over, to identify where the root of the issue is, to identify what they can be doing, what the cost of treatment might be, and what it would look like working with us. And that's an opportunity. We reserve 5 or 6 a month for people that are just on the fence. There's no fee. There's no obligation for the discovery visit. Really, it's a great step. It's kind of like going out to coffee.
That's awesome.
Right. It's just beginning a relationship and seeing if ultimately if I can help you, and if I can, I give you an opportunity to become one of my clients. If not, then, I find the right fit, for you. So we help everybody, whether that's bringing them on as a client or finding them the best option to help meet their needs.
That's great. And so for people that are interested in that, where can they go to find out more? Can they go online?
Sure.
Is there a phone number?
Yeah, we have a request form on the website. It's the website is Simply SIMPLY PT as in physicaltherapy.com. So there's an icon there on the front page, request a discovery visit. Feel free to give us a call you can text us as well. Phone number is 865-351-0615. If you would like to just even email me, maybe you have a question and you would want to begin with just an email question. So my email is John-Mark, JOHN-MARK at simplypt.com.
Okay, great. Well, John Mark, thank you for being my guest on your show today.
All right.
And we'll be back next time when we talk about neck pain.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to the Stay Healthy Knoxville podcast, brought to you by Simply Physio. If your pain is preventing you from staying healthy and active, and you'd like to avoid surgery, pain medicine, or just want to get back to doing the things you love in and around Knoxville, we offer both a free ebook and free over-the-phone consultation to help you figure out the root cause of your pain and the next best steps for resolving it. Find our ebooks online at simplypt.com/health-tips. There you will find ebooks for topics such as neck and shoulder pain, lower back and hip pain, knee pain, and TMJ. These quick-to-read reports will provide you with expert tips, tricks, and exercises to help solve your pain from the comfort of your own home. Just visit simplypt.com/health-tips to download your ebook and have it delivered directly to your inbox. We also offer free, no-obligation phone consultations with a doctor of physical therapy to Knoxville area residents. Just call us at 865-351-0615 or visit us at simplypt.com and click the Talk to a PT button on the home page to schedule a call with us. Thanks again for joining us, and we will see you next time on the Stay Healthy Knoxville podcast.